welcome to the afternoon session. Our first speaker today is going to be Daniel Smith. He is a scriptural history enthusiast whose dream in life is to help visually teach others about the scriptures and the Holy Land in a way never done before. He currently works at Scripture Central and leads the Messages of Christ YouTube channel, the Scripture Plus app team, and the Virtual Scriptures team, a collaboration project between Scripture Central and BYU. His team is currently working to create the most current, or the most accurate and detailed model of Jerusalem at the time of Jesus, along with other important scriptural sites. The 3D models will be used in the channel Messages of Christ in future updates to Scripture Plus and other planned apps and publications. His passion is teaching about Holy Week, the life of Christ, ancient temples, and the Jewish feasts. He has recreated several ancient artifacts, including the clothing of the high priest, which I'm disappointed he's not presenting in today, and hosted many ancient Jewish feasts and published many videos about these various subjects.
Thank you, Neil. So I actually am going to deviate just for a moment because we have a special guest. Spencer, you want to come up here for just a second? Spencer was a service missionary for us, and he is creating cherubim. This is the female cherubim, and he also has a, you need to hold it up more? Or? And then he's also creating a male cherubim. And eventually the hope is that this will be on campus at BYU. So he has done absolutely an amazing job. And I thought people here would love to be able to see it. So unfortunately, he has to leave. And so right now, this is all you get to see. So sneak peek. So anyway, thank you, Spencer. Great job. I thought that would be something that everybody here would love to see. So today I want to kind of take you on a journey through some of the project that we've been working on over the past 2 years to recreate the most historically accurate 3D model of Herod's temple. So there's been many models, both physical models and 3D models that have been built over the years. And I won't take a lot of time to go over these, but I'll just kind of briefly show a few of them. This is definitely by far the most well-known. It's currently at the Israeli Museum, and it's a beautiful model, but it was built in 1966, and so there's been a lot of archaeology that's been done since that time period. And Lean Rittmeyer obviously has done an incredible amount of work if you're familiar with him. There's other 3D models that have been done, digital 3D models. And then BYU has also done one as part of the virtual New Testament app, which unfortunately is unavailable right now. We're hoping to eventually update what we currently have, the 3D model that we're adding, and then to be able to take it on to this. And just, again, some other ones, we won't take a lot of time to show these, but these were something for us, for our team, that were really a helpful part to be able to help us visualize and get ideas and thoughts. But we wanted to take it really to the next level, to be able to show people something of what the actual beauty would have looked like of Herod's temple at the time. And so one of the things that we started with very first was I went through, I don't have an architectural background, but I learned a lot about classical architecture and classical design. And we went in and tried to understand what the temple architecture would have looked like. And then we took various architectural pieces from Herod's temple that have been excavated. Obviously, because the Temple Mount itself has not been excavated, we can't excavate there, but all around the Temple Mount, when the temple walls were pushed over, in particular the Royal Stoa, a lot of those different things have been excavated around the temple. And so these stones that we've replicated are many of them are from that area. So we know that Herod used 3 different styles of the classical orders. He used the Ionic, the Doric, and the Corinthian, and you can see here again how we've taken the artifacts from the various excavations, and then we've recreated it. Some of the items, because they were so damaged, such as the Corinthian capital, they were so damaged from the Roman destruction that we had to use some other stones that were a little bit better built. So this one is from the Herodian palace. But these are just a few examples where, again, we've tried to take classical design principles and be able to incorporate it into the 3D model so that we both have the architectural style of Herod, but then also what a classically built building would look like, because we know that Herod loved classical design. All of his buildings that he built had these types of designs. So these are, again, several designs that we incorporated. And this stone right here, I guess you can't see it's actually about the size of this table right here, so it's quite a large piece. And then you can see this is how we then incorporate all of those decorative details into the fuller piece. And this was a decorative detail that we used on the facade of the temple. And then there is it all combined together. And so what I want to do today is to kind of take you through a few of the parts that we used within constructing Herod's temple, to be able to show you some of the detail that we incorporated as much as we could. So one of the things, Eilat Mezar, who's an archaeologist, she passed away about 10 years ago, she did extensive documentation of every single known stone of the Herodian temple. And we went in, and because she's done these drawings, you can see this is just one drawing of Robinson's Arch. We were actually able to go in and take this model, take the designs that she did and recreate stone by stone. So when you see this model here, every stone, if it exists today, we have recreated it within our 3D model. So these are not just generic textures. We've actually tried to rebuild every stone where possible. This, for the walls as well, again, we can see here the cornerstones, and I almost feel like I can point better here, but you can see how you've got well, I guess you can't see past that point. I can't use the laser and I can't use my finger, so you'll just have to imagine that these corners right here, they're built in this header stretcher pattern to be able to hold the building, and those can still be seen today. Each of the stones are about a meter tall, so about 3 feet tall, and so it's a massive stone. So you've got, each stone is about that tall, and some of these, one of these stones in particular, it's just ginormous. For the doorways, again, wanting to be as historically accurate, and really what the purpose of this was, that we wanted to do this, is so many times you study the different stories of the life of Jesus, and you just can't quite visualize what is going on, or you don't know the location, or, Jesus talks about the grandeur and the beauty of the temple, and when you see the different 3D models that have been created up to this point, because while they give a good idea of the general flow and the buildings, they don't give you the beauty of it. And so that was one of the things that we really wanted to try to do, is replicate the beauty that Jesus would have seen. And so, for example, one of the doorways that we recreated was the Robinson's Arch doorway. You can see up at the very top, all the way up there that you can't see me pointing to, that you have up at the very top, there's that doorway. And they found, here's a picture showing what's left today. So you can see where the arch would have been. And then on top of that would have been a massive staircase. And when they were excavating, they found a stone that had fallen directly below the arch. And so we use that stone to then incorporate into the design of the doorway. We also have the double gate, which is one of the gates that would have been the most common gate that people would have entered in and exited out of. And today, unfortunately, there's a building that is in front of the gate, and you can just barely see part of, I'll show you another image here just in a moment, and you can just barely see part of the doorway today. But here you can see an outline on the left, the current structure, and you can see the dotted lines showing the areas where the doorway would have been, and then the reconstruction on the right. And this also can show you the size. These were actually larger stones on the bottom, and you can see the size of a human there in our 3D creation. And then here's the actual stone that is still existing today from that doorway. And then this is all that is visible of the doorway from the outside. From the inside, if you're able to go in, which most people can't, but if you're able to go inside, you can actually see part of the structure of the doorway as well. And so again, we're able to recreate this with high level of accuracy because we have so much information about this doorway. The floors of the temple, according to Josephus, at least some of the floors, were absolutely beautiful floors. Oh, is this a better laser?
Yeah, the front one, the front one.
Light screen.
I think it's because it's an LED.
Yeah, I think it's because it's a light screen, so. So Josephus mentions that the floors of some of the temple, not all of the temple, but some of the temple had beautiful decorative floors. And through a project that's called the Temple Mount Sifting Project, they've been able to find small pieces of the floor that belong to the temple. Basically what happened is the Muslim Authority over the Temple Mount, they did an illegal excavation, if you even want to call it that, and they dumped all of this dirt into the Kidron Valley, and then a group of Jewish archaeologists came in and started sifting that, and they found many of these stones that you can see there. And then a mathematician that was part of the staff, she helped to put these together. And so these are just a few of the floors. This is the Royal Stoa. This is the Court of the Women. And this is inside of the temple, what it might have looked like. And I will make a note on this for those who may be kind of old timers that may have known Michael Lyon. He actually did the designs on these around 30 years ago, but unfortunately he never saw this. But we were able to, he gave us permission to use his imagery. And so his work, which was done for building Herod's temple, has been incorporated. So here's another one showing the interior. And then Herod also mentioned that for the Royal Stoa that there was beautiful ceilings. The problem with the Royal Stoa is that all of the wood ceilings, we know they would have been wood ceilings, were burned up in the fire of when the Romans came in and destroyed it. And so how do you recreate the wood ceilings? Well, you can't. So what we did is we said that the designs, we want the designs to be faithful to what Herod would have used. And so while they are stone, meaning the ceilings would have been wood, we decided to incorporate stone details. Sorry, I forgot this one is the double gate. This is actually the only ceiling still remaining of the temple. And you can see these beautiful domes on the top. There's some of the decoration right there. And we've incorporated that into the ceiling of the double gate. And then this is the only column that is still, and capital that are still standing from the time of Jesus. Unfortunately, they've had to cover it up with a structure because the building is collapsing or it's having problems, and so you can't see it today. You can see right there how they've covered it up right there. But this is a recreation of that, what it possibly may have looked like. So back to the Royal Stoa. Again, because we wanted to try to be as faithful as possible, we went in and incorporated the stone details as if it was wood. Because again, the ceiling for the Royal Stoa would be wood, but we wanted to take and have decorative details that would be faithful to the Herod's temple. And you will notice the swastika, which is quite ironic, or however you want to call it, but that was a very common detail in Herod's temple. Here's another decorative detail that we incorporated. Again, some more swastika designs, and that is the final decorative ceiling. And there's another shot of it. And so here, if it will hopefully play. Thank you.
I think, maybe I don't speak for everyone, but personally, I had no idea the scale of Herod's temple and just how extraordinary it is until I started seeing, and this isn't my first introduction to this work, but until I started seeing these 3D renderings that you've been working on, and just how incredibly, just extraordinary and grandiose and beautiful it was. And what an incredible project to help bring it to life for people in a whole new way. So we do have a few questions here for you. First one, has there been any reaction to this model from non-LDS experts and designers, and what has their reaction been?
So there's been a good amount of feedback specifically from the archaeologists that I've been working with. So Lean Ribmeyer or Reed Pillay, some of the other people that have been doing these excavations, and they've all been very, very impressed. I've only heard excellent comments so far. Lean Ribmeyer, actually, we did an interview with him a week ago, and he will be in one of our next videos. So it's been very, very well received. Not to say that they don't have issues. Anytime you have a scholar, you know that there's lots of opinions. So there's no question on that, but they've been very happy with what they've seen.
And the next question here is, where on the Temple Mount do you believe the Temple of Herod was located? At the Dome of the Rock, or maybe somewhere else?
Oh, the debate of debates. I think that Lean Ribmeyer, who is probably the best researched scholar on the Temple Mount, I think he has the best opinion that it would be where the Dome of the Rock today is. And a lot of that is because of the fact that, one of the arguments that he makes is if it's somewhere else, the 500 cubit temple, which can't get into ton today, but in essence that there are remains from what would have been the original Solomonic temple, the 500 cubit area. If you have that area, which we can document quite well because of the archaeology, if the best location is where the Dome of the Rock is. So some say, well, maybe it's further to the north, and for example, the one with the further to the north, the second you put it further to the north, it doesn't fit into that block. So you have to ignore all of that archaeology that shows that that's the original Solomonic temple. So that's one of the reasons I feel that it's such a strong opinion, is that it's the Dome of the Rock.
And what are devout Jews doing to rebuild the temple? And they add that they've seen that some Jews are creating the items for inside the temple.
Yeah, so for the most part, they have floor plans. There's an organization called the Temple Mount Institute, and they have recreated floor plans for the temple, designs, all the speculation, or
Only we could enjoy that.
Oh, so they've created the floor plans and everything like that. They've also gone in and built a lot of the furniture, and they also have started training priests, but they don't really have the building itself, and that's where the challenge is. And so there's a lot of Jews that would like to build it. There's also a lot of Jews that feel that it's not necessarily needed. So there's a lot of different opinions on both sides of what should happen with the Temple Mount.
Where would the pinnacle be?
Yeah, that's another one that's there. There's kind of three main areas that they believe that the pinnacle would be. Right over Robinson's Arch, the trumpeting stone. That, in my opinion, fits the best, but there are also some good arguments that it would be on the other side of the Royal Stoa. So in essence, the eastern side of the Royal Stoa, and then you also have that some believe that it's literally the pinnacle of the temple. So it would be the temple itself, the temple building, because that is the highest structure. But for me, the Royal Stoa, the trumpeting stone, makes the most sense because if you're going to cast yourself down, that's where you have people walking, and it's just a much more kind of vivid experience if you're being tempted for that. So, but in the end, I don't know if we really have a good answer, but those are the three main locations that people say.
All right, and why were there no renderings of the Holy of Holies?
Because we haven't finished it yet. It's almost done. The one thing we have not finished, according to Lean Ribmeyer, which I think he's probably correct on this, that it would have been a flat stone, because it would be the mountain coming up, Mount Moriah coming up out of the temple, and then there would have been like a notch carved out where the Ark of the Covenant would have stood. Obviously, it was not there at the time of Jesus in the Second Temple period. So we just have not finished that stone. We've actually finished the walls, we've finished the ceiling, we just haven't finished the floor. So there's no render of it. And to be honest, because you don't have the Ark of the Covenant in there, there's not much to see. It's just an empty room. So.
Where can we find this when it's available?
So on Messages of Christ, you can, on the YouTube channel Messages of Christ, you can already find a couple of videos that show the different things. We'll be having videos that will be coming out over the next 4 to 6 months. They'll be highlighting things. And then eventually the goal is that we will have some sort of app or VR, AR type experience for it, but that's quite a ways down the road, so.
We've got to
All right.
move to the next speaker.
Yeah, we've got to move on, but thank you everyone for your questions. Thank you, Daniel.